Okay, hello. My name is Jae-hwan Jang. For this semester, we are going to study international port management and port operation. Actually, I didn't make for this class syllabus yet, but before we have class today, I'm going to briefly introduce about the general status of Port of Busan and what types of terminals Port of Busan has, and what types of terminal equipments terminal operators are using, what is port automation, and what is the phase of semi-auto and fully automation. We will briefly take a look at by seeing some presentation materials and satellite maps. As you can see here, this is Port of Busan. In Port of Busan, we have two, I'll say, terminal areas. One is Busan North Port, and the other one is Busan New Port area. The distance between North Port and New Port is approximately 30 kilometers away. And North Port started commercial operation back in 1970. And in Newport, it was constructed about 20 years ago in 2006. And now North ports are mainly served for small vessels, our feeder vessel, and less than, I would say, 10,000 TEUs, mainly connecting from Busan to Japanese ports and Chinese ports, and some of inter-Asian ports like Vietnam or Indonesian ports below the Singapore. And Newport area is started commercial operation in late 2000, and mostly bigger vessels, I would say more than 10,000 TEUs, mainly connecting to North America and European ports. Those kind of big vessels are using Newport area since 20 years ago. So, and Port of Busan, you can understand, divided into two port areas for small vessels, that is North Port, and big vessels for Newport. And we will take a look at how Newport areas are comprised of. Because we have no time for today, we're gonna skip for Northport introduction. Okay, this is Newport area port map. In the Newport area, we have three main areas: in northern part, southern part, and western parts. And we have another 1, 2, 3, total 7 container terminals we have. And actually, we have one more terminal here, but what I'm going to explain is container exclusive container terminals only. So 7 container terminals are operating, and one is multi-purpose terminal, like break bulk or PCC. I mean, pure car carrier. So our bulk carriers are using this terminal. In the northern part, we have 3 terminals named PNIT, PNC, HJNC. Each respective separate terminal operators are handling container cargoes for MSC, Gemini Alliance, and Premier Alliance. That you can see each shipping carrier that is using 3 respective container terminals. And in the southern part, we also have 3 terminals named HPNT, PNCT, and BCT. In case of HPNT, Korean flag mega carrier, ocean carrier HMM, ex Hyundai Merchant Line is calling at HPNT. They also have share halls in the HPNT terminal. And the BNCT, in the BNCT, Ocean Alliance, like French carrier CMA CGM, Chinese COSCO, WOCL, and Taiwanese Evergreen are calling at BNCT. And in BCT terminal, MSC is calling. Actually, MSC is calling two terminals. Technically, we are calling split berthing because they are using PNIT in the North Port and the Southern Port, MSC. Technically, shipping carriers are calling this type of terminal using as split berthing. And in the western area, we have one terminal, quite big terminal, than in comparison with other terminals in Northern Port and the Southern Ports, named DGT, which stands for Dongwon Global Terminal. This is most advanced terminal in Busan Newport up to now. Actually, it was opened about 2 years ago, as I remember, 2024 or 5, I remember. This terminal is fully automated container terminal. On the other hand, other 6 container terminals are semi-automated phase. I will explain about the phase of automation later. If you are to understand the automation phase of a terminal, you should understand 4 areas in the terminal, in container terminal. Let me explain one by one. The first one is terminal berth. Berth is the area where container ships are mooring or stopping or parking. It is like a parking area of container ships. And second one is apron area. Apron area is the areas where container terminal equipment, like transport equipment, like YTs, straddle carriers, AGVs, or that sort of transport equipment are moving. What they are doing is moving the containers between container ships and container yards. They can be operated by manual or automation. And the next one, third one is container yard. In case of container yards, it can be operated as manual or automated basis. When it comes to Busan Newport, all of container yards are operated as automation basis. On the other hand, in the North Port area, I'll say Old Port, in the Old Port area, all of container yards are operated as a manual basis. All of yard cranes are operated by human drivers. On the other hand, in the Newport areas, those yards, cranes are operated without human intervention. It is operated based on the TOS. TOS stands for Terminal Operating System. So all of the planning schedules or yard sequence basically embedded or input prior to operation in the terminal operating system. So when the containers are gated in, containers are stacked in the yard and they are moving without human intervention because all of the moving schedules are pre-planned in the yard plan managing program, TOS. So basically, we don't need to intervene or manipulate for container moving for the yard operation phase container terminal. Technically, these phase of container terminals are semi-automation, and when the transport equipment at the apron areas are also operated without human being, we call it fully automation phase. Before I explain about phase of terminal automation, we're gonna see what types of transport equipments are used in conventional and the semi or fully automation container terminal. These two pictures are YT, yard tractor, and straddle carrier. And somebody says it's shuttle carrier or straddle carrier. Both words are the same thing. Basically, these YTs and straddle carriers are used for conventional terminal, I mean fully manual terminal, and the semi-automated phase container terminal. As I said before, semi-automation means yard automation, right? So for the YTs and straddle carriers, these transport equipments are for fully manual and semi-automated container terminal. And these two, the pictures are AGVs, which stands for Automated Guided Vehicle, and the straddle carrier. The difference between these straddle carriers are this one is driven by human driver basis. You can see the driver's cabin here, small cabins we have here. But in case of this one, we have no cabin. That means these straddle carriers are moving without human intervention. The moving sequence or moving logics also pre-planned in the terminal operation system. Before I explain about the moving flows of a container box within the terminal area, we should understand what is vertical and what is horizontal layout. I'm going to explain using Google satellite map. Now I'm searching for Busan Newport area. Okay, I just said earlier in the presentation, I said Port of Busan has two terminal areas, right? One is North Port, I'll say Old Port, and the other one is Newport here. And also Old Port areas are operated as conventional, I mean fully manual basis terminal model. But on the other hand, in Newport areas, all terminals except for this one is a semi-auto container terminal. And if we are to understand what is a semi-auto and what is fully auto, we should understand what is vertical layout and what is horizontal layout. As you can see here, these are three terminals in the northern part of Newport is basically semi-auto and also horizontal layout container terminal. What is horizontal, by the way? Let me show you why it is called horizontal. Actually, the difference between this container terminal and this one is stacking direction of container from the seaside, right? In the horizontal layout container terminal, containers are stacking horizontal way from the seaside, and in this container terminal, the stacking direction is opposite of this terminal, right? So that is why we are calling this type of terminal as vertical layout terminal, and this type of terminal horizontal terminal. So in case of Busan Newport, those horizontal layout, we have 4 terminals. They are basically semi-auto, yard automation phase. They are using YTs, yard tractors, as transport equipment. And the next phase, these 2 container terminals are also operated as a semi-auto, but on the other hand, they are using straddle carriers as transport equipment. And in the western part, the most advanced container terminal in Busan Newport, as I said before, this DGT terminal, they are using, now you can see this one. This is AGB. This is AGB. As I said, this is AGB. No drivers we can see. They are moving automatically as pre-planned in the terminal operating system. So when it comes to automation base, we can say we have 2 phases. One is a semi-auto, and the other one is fully automation. And what is the difference between semi-auto and fully auto? You can say in fully automation, both yard and apron areas, we cannot see any human being. All operation is conducted over the containers are moving as pre-planned according to the container terminal operating system. And on the other hand, in the semi-auto, they can have both horizontal or vertical layout yard, but basically all layer mounted bases yard cranes they are using. That means yard cranes are also moving without human intervention. It means it also operating or moving based on pre-planned logic, which is embedded in the container terminal operation program. And the difference between horizontal and the vertical layout container terminal is what types of transport equipments they are using. In case of a horizontal layout semi-auto terminal, most of the cases they are using YTs, yard tractor, as transport equipment. And vertical layout terminal, they are using straddle carriers instead of YTs. That is the main difference between vertical layout and horizontal order, I'll say. Okay, then let me go on to the basic moving flow when container boxes are going into the terminal. Just suppose I'm truck driver and I have a container box which is to be loaded onto this container ship. I'm going into the container terminal through the gate, and I go to the LSTP area, which stands for landside transport point. I can go only at this area. Nowhere I cannot go because the ARMG yards are separating LSTP and WSTP. So I setting down the container at this area, and then automated yard cranes recognize my truck position and picking up the container, stacking the container somewhere around this area as pre-planned. And when the container ships arrive at the container berth, containers are moving to WSTP area, which stands for Waterside Transfer Point, and setting down the container at this area. Then straddle carrier or YTs comes in or picking up my container, and they go to the apron area. And then QC. QC stands for key crane, or somebody says STS or gantry crane. STS, QC, gantry, basically same thing, describing this container crane. Then QC driver picking up the container and moving to the container deck or hold, and when stacked, vessel departing. That is basic flow of containers when they are moving into the terminal. And in the next page, we're gonna see the container gate and container yard cranes and the QCs. Since about 10 or 15 years ago, most of container terminal gates are using OCR system. OCR stands for optical characteristic recording system. That means we don't need to inspect the container by human inspectors. In the past, actually, all trucks, when they are to enter the container terminal, they should have stopped at the gate, and human inspectors checked all of the container status, container numbers, whether they have container damages in the exterior panels, and whether the Copino, EDI data is correct or not. They all manually recorded this kind of information, and they input into the system and then transmitted to shipping carriers. But after using OCR system, we don't need human inspectors anymore at the gate. That is why truck drivers can go into the terminal without stopping at the gate. And for the yard crane operation, this is RCS. RCS stands for Remote Control Station. Remote Control Station. As I said before, all of these semi-auto or fully auto yard operation is moving based on the pre-planned logic in the terminal operating system, right? But some of the exceptional cases are done or intervened by remote control steps in the office. So you can understand that although I said terminal yards are operated without human intervention or human steps, but some of exceptional cases are handled by limited number of steps in the office using remote control station. And the last part is about terminal equipment. In this picture, you can see colorful terminal equipment like blue one, red one. And this blue one is QC. QC stands for container crane. The official name is a key crane or container crane. Container crane. And somebody said STS, which stands for to shore or shore to ship, and somebody say it's gantry crane. Basically, same words are describing this container crane. When you are to understand what is important for the QC, two things you should remember. One is the length of boom, crane boom, and the other one is the height of crane. Technically, we call this air draft the height between ground to this area. This is air draft. In the nose boat, I said small vessels or feeders are using the nose boat, right? Less than 10,000 TUs. They have up to 15 to 18 rows of width. I mean, container wide. The width of container wide, width of container side. On the other hand, in the Newport, container ships are getting bigger and bigger, both in length and wide. So, if container cranes are to accommodate or handle bigger vessels, the length of boom should also be wide or getting bigger. So 24 rows, meaning 24 rows of container ships. I mean, it will be about 20 or 24,000 TUs. They have 23 or 24 rows of wide, and air draft is about 50 meters. So container cranes are to handle that big container ships. Container cranes also be becoming bigger, right? And this orange color equipment is straddle carrier. I remember I already explained about transport equipment, so we're gonna skip to the last one, yard cranes. These yard cranes are ARMG crane. ARMG stands for automated rear mounted gantry crane, which means they are operated in the rear basis. Two types of yard cranes you can understand. One is tire base, rubber tire base yard cranes that we are calling RTG, rubber tired gantry crane. And when it's rear mounted, we call it RMG. But as I said before, in Newport area, all yard cranes are automated, right? So in the first letter A, you can understand, this one is automated. And when you cannot see A in the crane, it says RMG. This one is manual based gantry crane. You can understand. Let me skip the last part. All right. Before we for next semester, and I prepared some materials for introducing about Port of Busan and what port areas Port of Busan has. I mean, North Port and Newport, and what is port automation. I explained as a semi-auto and fully automation phase, and what sort of equipment terminals have, and how they are moving, and what is the function of each terminal equipment. I briefly explained. what is important for international port management these days, I think, is many newly constructed container terminals all around the world, even in United States, where labor issues are quite, how can I say, big issue. Even in United States, they are introducing fully automated container terminals. So I think in coming 5 or 10 years, newly constructed container terminals, I guess mostly in Asian countries like Vietnam or Indonesian countries, becoming because the southern part of East Asian, the countries are becoming, how can I say, manufacturing hub other than Chinese country. So because in 10 years, in 5 or 10 years, fully automation operation will be big trend. So you should understand what is semi-auto and fully auto. That is why I briefly introduced and explained the differences between the concept of semi-auto and fully auto, and what is vertical layout and horizontal layout. What is the difference? What types of transport equipments are used for each terminals? Okay, thank you for your attention. That's it for today.